Oak Island, the place where people have been asking the same question for centuries. What lies beneath? But this time, something happened that moved Rick Lagina himself to tears. Yes, the same Rick who has devoted his entire life to solving this mystery. The cameras were on, the team was silent, and then something emerged from the ground, shocking everyone. The object hidden beneath the soil was no ordinary artifact. It bore strange symbols, as if it were part of some ancient secret. Fear was evident in Dr. Spooner's eyes, and Rick's voice trembled as he said, "We finally found it." That was all he said, and silence fell. Some say it's proof of a lost civilization, while others believe it's connected to Oak Island's oldest curse. But the real question is this discovery about to reveal the world's greatest truth? Or is it about to reveal something that shouldn't have been touched? If you think the real secret of Oak Island is about to be revealed, like the video, share your theory in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because the footage we're about to see will change everything. The story of Oak Island is no ordinary mystery. It's a place where the world's most intelligent people, treasure hunters, and history buffs have been digging for the past 228 years. But every time someone thinks the secret is about to be revealed, the ground swallows everything. This is called the Curse of Oak Island, a curse that claimed the lives of 7 people. And to this day, no one knows what truly lies beneath. In 1795, some boys first discovered a mysterious pit, the place now known as the Money Pit. People thought it might be where pirates' treasure was buried. Years passed, teams arrived, machines were installed, and millions of dollars were spent. But every time someone reached the bottom, the water receded or the ground caved in, as if some unseen force had sworn to protect the secret. And since then, Oak Island's name has been etched into history as a curse. Then came the story of the Lagina brothers, Rick and Marty Lagina. As a child, Rick read the first article about Oak Island, vowing, "One day I will solve this mystery." Marty poured his own money and resources into turning his brother's passion into reality. The two brothers, using expert teams, archaeologists, and the latest technology, explored Oak Island centimeter by centimeter. But as they delved deeper, the mystery deepened. Now, let's talk about this new season, which shook everyone. This time, Rick and Marty chose a new location, the North Shaft, which had recently been identified by sonar readings. The readings revealed a large metallic object buried underground, unlike any natural rock formation. Unusual vibrations were also detected near the DN 11.5 on borehole, indicating a hollow chamber. Rick immediately decided, "We will dig where the readings are strongest." Work began on the site. Large excavators, cameras, and monitoring systems were installed. Emma Culligan and Dr. Spooner carefully observed every reading. The sonar images revealed something strange, like a circular structure surrounded by layers of stones. Some believed it was an ancient trap, while other experts suggested it might be part of a hidden vault. The team began clearing the area, and every inch was examined. Artifacts unearthed from the soil were carefully packed. Some of them looked very old, like medieval tools or broken plates. Rick's eyes were shining, and he repeatedly said, "We're on the right track." But at the same time, a fear lingered within him. Is this the place the curse is protecting? As days passed, the readings became clearer. One night, the sonar picked up a bright signal, so strong that Emma exclaimed, "This can't be natural." Rick stopped the crew and said, "The excavation will take place there tomorrow morning." That night, even the air on Oak Island felt strange, as if something was alive beneath the ground. Excavation began in the morning, and cameras recorded every moment. As the soil in the north shaft was removed, a metallic sound resounded from beneath the ground. Clang! As if something had fallen on a large door or box. Everyone's eyes focused on each other. Rick said softly, "That sound. I've never heard it before." Dr. Spooner added, "If this is the same object that was seen on the sonar, then perhaps we are very close to solving a 200-year-old secret." From here, the story of Oak Island took a new turn. The secret, buried for generations, was now so close to the surface that every heartbeat beat faster. Rick knew, if this turned out to be true, it would be the biggest discovery of his life. Or the biggest mistake. At first, everything at the excavation site seemed normal. The machines were running, the soil was being removed, and Rick Lagina and his team were monitoring the monitors. But moments later, strange signals began appearing on the tech crew's screens. The monitor lines suddenly began to jump up and down. Energy spikes so intense that Emma Culligan immediately exclaimed, "These readings aren't normal." Dr. Spooner leaned in front of the scanner and said, "It looks like a hollow chamber here. Maybe a hollow." Everyone gasped. Emma quickly zoomed in on the sonar feed, and the screen clearly showed a circular metallic structure beneath the soil. Its shadow didn't resemble any ordinary rock formation. Dr. Spooner's eyes widened. "This can't be natural. It's man-made." The room fell silent. Rick's face displayed both surprise and excitement. He said softly, "We're finally close to the place we've been waiting for." The rest of the crew gathered around the monitors, all watching the glowing shape, flickering like a pulsing signal on the screen. A few minutes later, the sensors began to return more strange data. The readings fluctuated frequently, as if something underneath was moving or emitting energy. Emma nervously said, "This metallic object isn't static. There's probably a reaction going on inside it." Rick took off his hat and took a deep breath. "Then we need to start excavating now." He radioed, "Get all the machinery ready. We'll start digging where the readings are strongest." Oak Island was abuzz within the next hour. Large excavators were brought to the site, and workers surrounded the area. Light poles were erected everywhere so that work wouldn't stop even at night. Cameras were set up, and the production crew began recording from every angle. The first layer of soil was removed, only mud and stones. But as the excavation deepened, the soil began to change color. The soil beneath was black and dense, as if from a long sealed area. Rick himself stood near the excavation pit, his face reflecting both fear and hope. Every time the machine's bucket went down, a metallic sound echoed, a clang. Emma said, "Listen to that sound. This isn't soil, it's some solid structure." Dr. Spooner immediately deployed sensors and checked the readings. "It's about 12 feet deep." Rick said, "Remove it slowly. There shouldn't be any damage." A moment later, the excavator's hook hit something heavy, and a corner of the soil shone through. The camera zoomed in, and something metallic appeared. A crew member shouted, "Sir, we've got something!" Rick bent down and shone his flashlight on the spot. As the soil was removed, an old, rusted, metallic box-like structure became visible. It was covered in a thick layer of mud, but strange symbol-like marks were visible in some places. Emma and Spooner both went down to the site. Emma removed some mud with her hands and said, "This isn't made with any modern tools. It's very old." Spooner took out a compass and magnetic scanner, looked at the readings, and said, "It's producing a strong magnetic field. That means this metal is very pure." Rick simply said, "This could be what we've been looking for years." Slowly, the box's full shape emerged. It was about 4 feet long and 2 feet wide. It was surrounded by layers of stone on all sides, as if someone had deliberately protected it. The machines were stopped to prevent any damage. Now the work began by hand. Every particle of mud was removed with a brush. Each time a new part was visible, the cameras zoomed in, and Rick's eyes brightened even more. Finally, the entire structure was cleared. Emma said, "It's a sealed box, and there are some inscribed symbols on top." Spooner looked at the symbols and said, "This script looks like Latin or Phoenician." Rick touched the box with his hands, and there was silence for a moment. He said, 200 years of hard work is probably paying off. The air had grown heavy. Everyone at the site was focused on the box. No one was speaking. Only the gentle hum of machinery and the rustle of the ocean breeze could be heard. Rick took a deep breath and said, "It'll be raised tomorrow morning, and then we'll see what Oak Island was hiding." No one slept peacefully that night because everyone knew what was about to be revealed tomorrow could change history. As the excavation continues, the camera slowly focuses on Rick Lagina's face. Dirt is flying, the machines hum, but Rick seems lost in another world. His voiceover begins, "When I was a child, my father would tell me stories of Oak Island at night. He would say, 'Son, there's something beneath this place that could change humanity.' From that day, this dream has been ingrained in me." There's a faint ache in his voice, as if this isn't just a mission, but an unfinished part of his heart. Rick holds an old photo. In it, he and his father stand in front of an old book titled The Money Pit Mystery. He smiles softly at the photo and says, "I promised him that one day I would solve this mystery." Emotional piano music plays in the background, a slight chill lingers in the air, and the camera pans above the ground, where the excavation site is in full swing. Rick's face is no longer filled with fear, but with a glimmer of hope. Then a short montage plays, glimpses of past seasons, Rick and Marty's laughter, all-night planning, failed excavations, and Rick saying, "Maybe next time, every time." His voiceover continues. "Sometimes it felt like Oak Island was calling us, and sometimes it felt like it was holding us back." His eyes are bright, but his lips are trembling, as if the burden of the past and hope are both present. Just then, a worker's voice comes from the excavation pit. "Sir, it's coming up!" Rick snaps out of his thoughts and runs toward the site. Dust fills the air, the machines are moving slowly, and the crane slowly lifts the old metallic box. The camera captures Rick's face in close-up, sweat on his forehead, but the sparkle in his eyes is the kind that only comes when a lifelong dream comes true. As the box rises above the ground, the site falls silent. The air feels heavy, and the birds that were flying overhead moments ago suddenly disappear. All that's heard is the rustling of the wind and the creaking of metal. Emma and Dr. Spooner are also silent. Everyone senses something isn't normal about this box. Rick's breathing is rapid. Standing beneath the crane, his eyes fixed on the box slowly rising to the surface. The crane chain creaks, creak, and the box is placed on the ground. At that moment, the wind seems to stop. No one speaks. The crew members look at each other, as if they've all realized the same thing. This isn't just an artifact, it's something else. Rick slowly reaches out and touches the box with his hand. Soil falls, revealing a symbol-like shape beneath it. Only soft instrumental music plays in the background, silent. Emma says, "Did you feel it? The temperature has dropped in here." Spooner looked at his thermometer. The reading suddenly dropped 5 degrees. Rick's eyes widened. He said, "This place feels different." Then the camera pans to the site in an aerial shot. The entire crew is silent. No laughter, no excitement. Just a heavy atmosphere and a strange vibration in the air, as if the ground itself is breathing. Rick softly said, "This isn't just a discovery. It's a message." At that moment, everyone felt both fear and curiosity. Someone softly said, "Should we open it?" Rick simply looked at him and said, "We've come this far. We can't turn back now." His voice was soft but firm. The crane slowly lowered the old metallic box to the ground. Rick and his team stood huddled around it. The air was silent. Only the soft hum of machinery could be heard. The box was so old that a thick layer of rust and dirt had accumulated on its surface. Rick put on his gloves and slowly began removing the dirt. Emma Culligan said, "Sir, be careful. This could be fragile." Rick nodded and slowly placed his hand on the edge of the lid. The crane operator relaxed the tension. And then, click. A soft sound came, as if something sealed for centuries had finally opened. Everyone's breath stopped as the box's lid lifted. Inside, instead of a glittering treasure, lay a black stone tablet, completely smooth, but the symbols engraved on it resembled an ancient code. No one spoke at that moment. Rick's hands trembled. He gently touched the stone and said, "This isn't gold. This is much older." Dr. Spooner immediately took out a flashlight and shone it on the tablet. Symbols began to glow in the light, as if there was some energy within the stone itself. Emma said, "Sir, I've never seen this script before." Spooner leaned in and looked closely, saying, "Some of the symbols look like Crusader crosses, and some of the markings resemble the Phoenician alphabet." Rick's eyes were filled with wonder. He said softly, "Is it possible this is connected to the Templars?" Spooner said with a slight smile, "Rick, if so, then you've found what people have been searching for centuries." The rest of the crew stood around the black tablet. Cameras were shooting from every angle. The tablet, embedded in the soil, emitted a strange light, as if there was a magnetic pull within it. Emma took a reading from the scanners and said, "This stone isn't magnetic, but it's emitting energy." Rick said, "Energy? Meaning it's not just an artifact. Perhaps something has been activated?" Spooner said in a serious tone, "It's hard to say right now, but this stone is not ordinary." Dr. Spooner and two archaeologists wearing gloves carefully removed the tablet. They placed it on a white cloth and cleaned it from above. The symbols were now more clearly visible, some circular, some arrow-shaped, and in the middle was a large cross symbol, which appeared to be the mark of a seal or secret order. Spooner looked at the camera and said, "Some of these symbols are found in old manuscripts of the Knights Templar, and some resemble the Canaanite language." Rick stood silently, tears in his eyes but a firm face. He said, "My father always said that Oak Island held not just treasure, but a hidden message. Perhaps he was right." Emma said softly, "Sir, this tablet could be part of a map, or perhaps a warning." Spooner replied, "Look, this center symbol looks like a compass, and there are 4 triangles around it. They probably point in some direction." An archaeologist said, "Sir, these markings could be from around the 12th century." Spooner interrupted him, "Or even older." Then he looked at the bottom of the tablet and said, "There are some engraved letters here. They're in Latin, but very faded." Rick turned on the flashlight. Some words appeared, such as Illuminare Terra and Protegere Veritas, which meant light the earth and protect the truth. Rick's hands slowly began to shake. He said, "Protect the truth? I mean, someone hid the truth." Spooner nodded. "And maybe it's coming out now." At that moment, the entire team was silent. Only the sound of the wind and the beeping of the camera could be heard. Emma said, "Sir, should we move it?" Rick said softly. "No. Let's understand it first. Whatever it is, it's been kept here for centuries for a reason." The camera slowly zooms in on Rick's face. His eyes are moist and soft. Emotional music plays in the background. Spooner looks at the tablet and says, "Rick, if this is a Templar artifact, it won't just change the history of Oak Island. It could change the history of the entire world." Rick just whispers, "Then we have to know the truth." Rick Lagina was looking intently at the black stone tablet. Dr. Spooner and Emma were standing around him, but Rick was lost in a different world. His gaze was fixed on the central symbol, a circular shape with a cross-like mark in the middle. Rick's breathing quickened. He immediately took out an old diary from his jacket's inner pocket, its pages now yellowed. It belonged to his father. He slowly flipped through the pages, and then his finger stopped on an old page. There was the same symbol, the exact same design, the same markings. Rick's face froze at that moment. His eyes widened. He held the diary up to the tablet and said, This symbol was in my father's notes. He said it was the truth seal." His voice trembled and his lips were dry. The rest of the crew was silent. The camera slowly zoomed in. Tears filled Rick's eyes, and his hands were shaking. He held the diary and said, "Dad, you were right. You were right all along." He paused, as if the burden of a lifetime had been released in that moment. Slow, emotional music played in the background. The air was heavy. Dr. Spooner gently placed a hand on Rick's shoulder and said, "Rick, maybe this is the moment you dedicated your life to." Rick bowed his head slowly and said, "I always thought it was just a story, but now I understand that he really knew something. He said that one day this symbol would lead us to the truth. And today, that day has come." His voice was soft, but every word was profound. The camera focused in slow motion on Rick's tears, which fell onto the dirt-soaked pages of the diary. The glow of the black tablet nearby increased slightly, as if reacting to some energy. The crew members were all silent, some with fear, others with respect. At that moment, Oak Island seemed more than just an excavation site, but a sacred place where history was repeating itself. The scene fades, and a montage of a few hours later appears. Breaking news graphics, Twitter feeds, YouTube thumbnails, and the excited faces of news anchors. Headlines flash, "Templar proof found on Oak Island. Ancient prophecy finally uncovered. Rick Lagina discovers 800-year-old secret." Oak Island was trending on every social media platform. Theories began to emerge on Reddit. Some said it was connected to the Holy Grail, while others claimed the tablet was part of an ancient warning system. People on Twitter were debating, is Oak Island hiding the true history of the Templars? One user wrote, "The cross symbol means resurrection. It's not treasure, it's prophecy." Another wrote, "They found the proof of the lost brotherhood." Thousands of creators on YouTube were analyzing this discovery. Some called it fake. Others said Rick had discovered the world's biggest historical truth. Clips went viral on Instagram and TikTok. Rick's tears, the glow of the black tablet, and a close-up shot of the diary. Millions of people zoomed in on that one frame and tried to decode it. News channels were not far behind. CNN, BBC, National Geographic, and History Channel ran special reports. Headlines read, "Oak Island unearths the truth. Templar symbols confirm lost history. Rick Lagina breaks down after finding his father's prophecy." Rick's emotional clip was broadcast worldwide. Millions were saying, he didn't find gold, he found his purpose. Some experts said the tablet was a medieval hoax, while historians said, if it's authentic, it could rewrite world history. Social media theories ran wild. Some claimed it was a secret linked to the Vatican archives, while others claimed Rick had activated the Seal of Truth, a key to a hidden chamber. After Rick Lagina's discovery, the world was divided. Scientists and skeptics on one side, and believers and historians on the other. Scientists dismissed the black stone tablet as a mere coincidence. They suggested the symbols could be ancient trade markings, unrelated to the Templars. They said, don't make every old object a secret. It could just be an ancient rock. Some archaeologists even said, the media has overhyped it, and it's now trendy to make everything on Oak Island a secret. But among believers, the mood was different. Social media, forums, and documentaries were filled with people saying, Rick did what no one had done in 200 years. Threads on Reddit and YouTube flooded the airwaves. Oak Island was never about gold. It was a divine message. Some suggested the tablet was connected to the Templars' last prophecy, and the symbol a sign of the sacred order that protected the truth. One theory even claimed that the tablet held the key to a secret chamber, concealing a truth that could alter world history. Rick himself was absent from the debate. He was sitting in the excavation tent, the black tablet in front of him. Emma and Dr. Spooner were using microscopes and scanners to decode the inscriptions. Spooner said, "These inscriptions aren't easy to decipher. They're a mixture of several languages, some Latin, some Phoenician, and some symbols resemble some unknown script." Emma displayed an enlarged image on the screen and said, "Look, this line says something. Perhaps a sentence." Rick leaned forward and looked. Beneath the symbols were faded letters, made clearer by infrared light. Slowly, one by one, each letter began to emerge. Spooner took a deep breath and said, "It says, 'She shall rise again.'" The room fell silent. Emma raised her head and said, "She shall rise again? Who do you mean?" Rick's face turned pale. He said softly, "Is this a warning? Or a prophecy?" Spooner looked at the tablet again and said, "This phrase seems to have a religious or mystical context. It could be a reference to a person, organization, or spirit." Emma added, "Or perhaps whatever is hidden beneath Oak Island is connected to a she entity, a goddess, queen, or divine force." Rick remembered his father's diary. It also had the same line written on one page, "She will return when the truth is found." He immediately pulled out the diary, and the two sentences were almost identical. He said softly, "My father wrote this line in 1972, but he didn't tell me what it meant." Emma looked at him and said, "Did your father already know that this tablet was on Oak Island?" Rick tilted his head and said, "Maybe. Or he saw something that remained hidden from us." Spooner said, "Rick, if this phrase is truly of Templar origin, it means it's referring to an awakening or a return." Rick said in a low voice, "That means the mystery of Oak Island isn't over yet." The room fell silent again. The faint glow of that sentence was still visible on the tablet. "She shall rise again." A storm was brewing outside. The wind was howling and metallic sounds echoed outside the tent. Rick looked at the tablet, then said, "If this prophecy is true, have we awakened something that should have remained asleep for centuries?" Spooner looked at him and said just one line, "Rick, when history is awakened, it doesn't always respond. Sometimes it takes revenge." After Rick Lagina's discovery, the world was divided. Scientists and skeptics on one side, and believers and historians on the other. Scientists dismissed the black stone tablet as a mere coincidence. They suggested the symbols could be ancient trade markings, unrelated to the Templars. They said, Don't make every old object a secret. It could just be an ancient rock. Some archaeologists even said, the media has overhyped it, and it's now trendy to make everything on Oak Island a secret. But among believers, the mood was different. Social media, forums, and documentaries were filled with people saying, Rick did what no one had done in 200 years. Threads on Reddit and YouTube flooded the airwaves. Oak Island was never about gold. It was a divine message. Some suggested the tablet was connected to the Templars' last prophecy, and the symbol, a sign of the sacred order that protected the truth. One theory even claimed that the tablet held the key to a secret chamber, concealing a truth that could alter world history. Rick himself was absent from the debate. He was sitting in the excavation tent, the black tablet in front of him. Emma and Dr. Spooner were using microscopes and scanners to decode the inscriptions. Spooner said, "These inscriptions aren't easy to decipher. They're a mixture of several languages, some Latin, some Phoenician, and some symbols resemble some unknown script." Emma displayed an enlarged image on the screen and said, "Look, this line says something, perhaps a sentence." Rick leaned forward and looked. Beneath the symbols were faded letters, made clearer by infrared light. Slowly, one by one, each letter began to emerge. Spooner took a deep breath and said, "It says, 'She shall rise again.'" The room fell silent. Emma raised her head and said, "She shall rise again? Who do you mean?" Rick's face turned pale. He said softly, "Is this a warning or a prophecy?" Spooner looked at the tablet again and said, "This phrase seems to have a religious or mystical context. It could be a reference to a person, organization, or spirit." Emma added, "Or perhaps whatever is hidden beneath Oak Island is connected to a she entity, a goddess, queen, or divine force." Rick remembered his father's diary. It also had the same line written on one page, "She will return when the truth is found." He immediately pulled out the diary, and the two sentences were almost identical. He said softly, "My father wrote this line in 1972, but he didn't tell me what it meant." Emma looked at him and said, "Did your father already know that this tablet was on Oak Island?" Rick tilted his head and said, "Maybe. Or he saw something that remained hidden from us." Spooner said, "Rick, if this phrase is truly of Templar origin, it means it's referring to an awakening or a return." Rick said in a low voice, "That means the mystery of Oak Island isn't over yet." The room fell silent again. The faint glow of that sentence was still visible on the tablet. "She shall rise again." A storm was brewing outside. The wind was howling, and metallic sounds echoed outside the tent. Rick looked at the tablet, then said, "If this prophecy is true, have we awakened something that should have remained asleep for centuries?" Spooner looked at him and said just one line, "Rick, when history is awakened, it doesn't always respond. Sometimes it takes revenge."